Today's video is going to be about maintaining your locks while training. So I think I mentioned in one of my previous videos that one of my hobbies includes climbing. I also like to bike, and I am training for the Marine Corps Marathon. I'm a very mediocre athlete. I just like to do athletic things. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm good at them. I'll be uploading regular videos of my training regimen and training process.
Sorry, there's something wrong. Please try again.
Oh, so creepy. I'm not really motivated to exercise unless I'm working towards a specific goal. And in a lot of cases, I will make that a race. So in this case, it's the Marine Corps Marathon. This is my second year doing it because it's also my second year of making sure I just work out over the summer. I'm also super competitive, and something about marathons is competitive even if you're not good at them. If you have locks and you do a lot of physical activity, it's important to be strategic with how you maintain your hair. So today's video will have 7 things I've learned about lock maintenance while training. The first thing I use is Bondi Bands. I first learned about these at a marathon expo. So in short, and I'm sure a lot of people have this problem, but when I run, my edges get super fluffy. I don't put a whole bunch of effort into my edges because I think that with as often as I work out, they're just going to be that way. But I do at least try to minimize the fluff. So this is a Bondi Band, and you can get them online or at pretty much any race expo. And it's basically just an elastic band to compress your edges while you're exercising. As a pro tip that I learned from watching Cheska Lee videos, leave your Bondi Band on while you're working out and until your hair dries completely after your workout. It's important to not take your Bondi Band off until your hair is completely dry so that it doesn't just puff back up as soon as you take it off. But there are some downsides of using Bondi Bands, especially if you're running in the sun. So usually when you wear a Bondi Band, a little bit of it will cover your forehead, your edges, and a little bit of your hairline. Once you start running longer distances and have to stay outside for hours and hours, you'll probably start to get tan lines on your forehead in the shape of your Bondi Band, and it is not cute. And I haven't really found a way around this. I've tried pulling the Bondi Band back a little bit. In order for the Bondi Band to cover your edges, it has to kind of be a little bit on your forehead. So those are some gives and takes of that. Actually, now that I think about it, I could probably have worn a baseball cap over the Bondi Band. I'll do that, but that would just get really sweaty, even more sweaty than I'm already getting. I don't really know, but just a warning sign, you might get some tan lines. The second is bi-weekly to tri-weekly washing. When you have a really active workout schedule, you're going to get some nasty, salty buildup in your hair. Usually people have their own regimens, but when you're training a lot, I do think it's important to keep your hair and scalp clean. When you sweat a lot, usually everything on your scalp somehow makes its way down your face. To avoid potentially stinky hair, I wash my hair every 2 to 3 weeks. And the third, I do have to retwist a little bit more often. So I try to retwist my hair every month. Sometimes when I wash it, I won't necessarily retwist my entire head. I'll just retwist the first 2 rows. In order to avoid stressing my hairline and retwisting too often, I'll usually twist a little more gently. Bondi Bands and things will kind of elongate the amount of time that you can keep your hair as is without retwisting, but it's not going to eliminate it completely. But sometimes it gets so fuzzy I have no alternative, so I'll just retwist the first row. It doesn't have to look perfect. The fourth is moisturizing your ends, especially if you're working out outside in the sun and it's completely just baking through your hair. I think that if you have locks in general, you should be moisturizing them. I do know that there's quite a bit of controversy in the lock community about whether or not to moisturize your hair because it can cause buildup. Given how dry my hair gets, not moisturizing is not an option for me. But I really have to moisturize my hair when I'm out in the sun and it's getting baked. What I do is find a non-greasy, non-buildup moisturizing product and just moisturize my ends. I do want to place emphasis on
non-greasy, non-buildup.
I won't necessarily put any product recommendations, but I do think it's an important thing to do. This probably goes without saying, but find a good way to tie up your hair while you're exercising. But it's important to pick something that's not too tight. I do also think this one really depends on your hair length. Sometimes when I run, for example, if I just put my hair in a ponytail, it flies everywhere and it's kind of heavy. When you run really long distances and you have your hair in a style that kind of makes your head bob, it can kind of cause some stress and fatigue on your neck, especially if you're running for an hour or 2 or 3 hours. I also really don't like it if my hair gets on my sweaty neck or my sweaty back, and it kind of just grosses me out. I won't necessarily go too in-depth on this one because what works for me might not necessarily work for everyone, but when I run, I usually put it in a top knot or a low bun. When I bike, I make sure that my hair is completely compressed and it can fit in my helmet, and when I climb, I can pretty much do anything with it. The last thing I'm gonna mention is giving a damn, but not really giving a damn. Sometimes, admittedly, when I have freshly retwisted hair, I'm apprehensive about working out because I don't want to ruin all of the hard work that I just put into my hair. But I do let my hair sit for at least 24 hours after a fresh retwist before I do a workout, just to make sure that it's completely dry. When I'm too apprehensive about messing up my hair after a fresh retwist, I kind of use it as an excuse to not work out. And I don't like that. I never want to sacrifice my body, health, and wellness for how my hair looks. Over time, your hair is gonna start to look tired, inevitably. And I will admit that working out a lot kind of expedites this process, but depending on how much you sweat, it won't necessarily expedite that process as much as you would think. It's also important to not put off washing your hair just because you want to stretch a couple extra workouts out of it. As someone who retwists my own hair, I do have the luxury of retwisting and washing my hair on my own schedule, so that makes things a little bit easier. If I paid someone to do my hair, I'd probably feel a little bit different about things. But to conclude, it's important to care about your hair, but not care enough to the point that you don't exercise. And it's important to exercise, but not exercise so much that you completely neglect your hair. That's all I have for today. I'm gonna go climb. I'd love to read your comments and see what your suggestions are for what I should do for my next video. Be sure to like, subscribe, or watch some of my other videos. And I'll see you in a couple weeks.